So I've told you how I've never had people guests. I've always had guest speakers, and I've never spoken in front of everybody. And the reason why that has been is because I've, for years, worked on dimming my own light. Now, I want us to go back to, I'll take you back to 2012. 2012, my mother-in-law was in ICU. We got a call. I remember I was teaching boot camp in Lowell, Massachusetts. My husband called me and he said, I've just got a call and I have to go home. And so he said, my mom is in the ICU. I gotta go figure out what's going on. So he travels to Nairobi. She was here in Nairobi Hospital. And when he landed, mom had several heart attacks. She actually had 3 different heart attacks. And the whole time she was here, she was in and out of her own body. And first she got the first heart attack, second, third. By the way, the first heart attack, they resuscitated her for 27 minutes. After her heart attack, still in ICU, they figured her kidneys were failing. So they said, so we need to do kidney dialysis on her, yes. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna go through the aorta nerve because it's easier to go to your kidneys so that they can do dialysis. Or we could do it another different way. So they decided to go through the aorta nerve. So when they went through that, they accidentally punctured her lungs. So she went into cardiac arrest again. So she had heart attack, she had kidney failure, then mom went into a coma. And this happened in October 2012. This is now, we're now into November. She's in a coma. And so finally they said, after several weeks in the coma, they were going to pronounce her dead. Or God has said, your time is not over. Guess what? It ain't over. But what happens to us is, we see this light. It's a very quiet, still voice. You have a dream, you have a vision, you know what it is that you want to do for yourself. You know the things that you've been put on earth to come and manifest. But for most of us, 2 things happen. Number 1, either we are very afraid to do the thing, or when you hear that flicker of light, that hint, that quiet voice, when you hear it on the inside of you, you denounce it, or you say, yeah, that's really not me. But what happens with that flicker of light is something big is birthed. For her, was it work? Yes. We started with occupational therapy, physical therapy. We had to start her from scratch. And all this is to say that as long as you are willing to put in the work, as long as you're willing to do what needs to get done, you absolutely can make your light shine. There is a hint of activity. And so for me, there's always been that hint of activity. But then, the F word. No, I'm not like that. Not that word. Not that word. No. But it's still a 4-letter word. Anyone want to guess? Fear. F-E-A-R. Fear. Fear of speaking my truth. Fear of shining. Fear of saying what I knew God had put in me. And what fear does is it paralyzes you. What fear does is you're not able to move forward. What fear does is it creates heaviness on the inside of you. When you think about someone who's afraid, I just want you to put that image in your head of someone who has fear. How do they look? How do they look when someone is afraid? Yep.
Very apprehensive.
Apprehensive, okay. Another way they look. Reclusive. Another way, someone who's afraid. How do they behave? When someone is afraid, what kind of behaviors do they exhibit?
Like they close into themselves.
Exactly. You're closed in. And what happens when you're closed in? You dim your light. When you're closed in, you don't shine out. Now, how many of you are willing to be honest enough and say, there's an area of my life that I know I need to shine, but I'm afraid? How many of us? Because that was me, raising my hand, raising your hand. I see you. And so what we're going to be talking about today is, what are the things and how do you get away from your fear? Now, I've done a lot of motivation. I've listened to, not done. I've listened to a lot of talks and listened to different people talking. And the one thing when I leave that place, I've always said, I really want to live with something tangible. Yes, I just don't want to be motivated. but I want to live with something tangible that's going to help me move from fear to action, right? Move from what are the steps I need to take so that I can be able to shine my light. So here, what do you see? An acorn. And what comes out of an acorn? It's a tree. Okay, perfect. You all know that. Now, when you look at an acorn tree, an acorn, the seed, I want you to think about if it becomes a tree, what kind of tree blossoms out of an acorn? Yeah, I heard somebody say. Oak tree. It is an oak tree. Who was that? Oak tree. Suzanne. Susie. It is an oak tree. So tell me, for an acorn seed to blossom, what needs to happen? What needs to happen for an acorn seed to blossom?
To get the right nutrients.
Right nutrients, perfect. What else? Rain, okay. So rain and nutrients, what else? Sunshine, yes. What else? Minerals, soil. So all I'm hearing is it needs the perfect environment, isn't it? So it needs a good environment so that that oak tree can thrive, so that that seed, can blossom. What else does it need? So we have environment, and I want you to put the word environment, write down environment in your books. So it needs the environment. What else does it need to blossom? Nurturing. What else? And when nurturing, what happens during the process of nurturing? What's happening? The work. What kind of work needs to get done? Planting. Watering. Pruning. Yeah. I also want you to think in terms of the stages of an oak tree. What's that? What is it going through? Growth. And growth takes, there you go. So it needs the perfect environment. It also needs nurturing, and it needs time. And now when we're talking about all those things, what else does it need? Because anything that is alive must reach its highest potential. Anything, whether it is a tree, whether it is you, whether it's an animal, it must reach its potential. So an oak tree's potential, what is it going to need so that it can thrive? Space. That's it. So it's going to need space. So the environment, time, and space. Those are the three things that are required for this acorn seed to germinate and to become this magnificent oak tree. Doing everything that you have said. Nurture, prune, water, sunshine, etc. And then you end up getting this magnificent tree. Now when you look at this tree, when you look at the acorn, when you look at the oak tree, what do you see? I'd seen some prettier ones, but this one just spoke to me. You know how when you're looking on Google, I'm like, no. This one, there's something about this that just speaks to me. What do you see when you see this tree? Majesty, beauty. What else? Splendor. Yes. What else do you see? Strength. Exactly. All these things, because it's been given the right environment, the right time, the right space, it's become its fullest potential. It's grown to its fullest potential. Now, I want you now to think about your own life. Think about your body. Think about yourself. And think about what I said, that anything that has life, the form of life, the way we are created, it must reach its fullest potential. True? Animals, do they reach their fullest potential? They do. Trees, like we have seen, do they reach, as long as they have the right environment, the right time, and the right space, do they reach their fullest potential? Human beings, do we reach our fullest potential? Not everybody. And why do we not reach our fullest potential? Self-sabotage, good. Write those down. Those words, they're going to come back. Self-sabotage, what else? Lack of patience, put that down. What else? Fear, put that down. What else? Wrong environment, boom, put that down. What else? Not believing in yourself and not being confident, put that down. All those things and anything else that comes up, These are some of the reasons why we human beings do not reach our potential. And this stems and starts from when we were young, from when we were little. Because what we do is we allow other people to inflict and to put upon and place upon their own beliefs and their own limitations. That's starting from us as parents doing that to our kids. And if we're honest enough, our parents doing it to us, our neighbors, the people we love. And so this is what I want to assure you. Because for you that is here, you want to be somebody. You want to reach your potential. But before you reach that potential, before you get to doing the thing that you need to get to, you first must be able to lead yourself. Before you lead other people, you must first lead yourself. And this is the awareness I keep talking about. Every time I'm coaching, I'm saying, are you aware? Why are you doing this? That awareness must start from you. And the reason why is when you're taking your power back, you begin to recognize all the limitations that you yourself have, all the things that hold you back. But then now you begin to recognize, you know what? I do have power. I have all these things that I want to do. I can see the limitations that are holding me back. But if I want to move there, guess where I need to look first? Inward. I need to look inward. And that's what I needed to do for myself. Because fear was paralyzing me. And I had to work on getting over my fear of standing in front of people and speaking in front of people. And honestly, one of my girlfriends, when I shared this with her, she said, Roseanne, you? Not confident? I mean, it was like a huge shock. I was like, imagine, yeah. I would, let me see, my girls are not here. Yeah, they've traveled. But I would literally be like, I need you guys to come when we have those dinners, eh? Let me just be real. You guys please come, and you gotta be there early because I need you, like, and hang around me because I am nervous, I am panicky. And even yesterday, when I kept thinking, I'll show you the exercise that we're gonna be doing because I wanna train you. I had to train my mind to keep coming back to being present, because what I kept doing is I was like, I need. In Boston, I used to have my sisters. When guests were coming, I loved to invite. By the way, I'm going to call you to my house one of these days. Sisters would always be at my house for that cover. Me, my work was to just jump in one or two words. But they're doing all this other. I mean, like I've mastered that skill. So my girls, even them when they come, if you know who I'm talking about because you've seen them in all the parties. You know who they are. So now that they were not coming today, I could feel that fear coming in. I could feel it crippling me. But immediately, I was just switching my mind. And I'll show you exactly what to do. Because these are the things that can stop you from doing the thing that you know you really want to do. This is one phrase that I love. I love this phrase. It basically says, it's a warrior phrase. If you want, how many of you watch Karate Kid? Karate Kid, yeah. The master, it came from Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee is the one who said this. I don't fear the man who... No, I don't believe it was Bruce Lee, but it was sort of referenced in there. I do not fear the man who knows 1,000, we're going to say woman. I don't fear the woman who knows 1,000 punches. I fear the woman who has mastered one punch 1,000 times. It's all about mastery, becoming a master of self, becoming a master of your own body. And this is now where you begin to work on your own body and noticing, how am I functioning? Because the minute you become a master of yourself, this is when nobody else will influence your decisions, because you know yourself, you know what you're doing, and you know the things that you want to do. And so it's important for you to become that master of your own body, of your thoughts, and become a master in the life that you're living. So it's not about doing things over and over and over. It's not about, doing one thing and then jump into another. It's repeating. If it's fear that you have, you repeat. You're doing those actions over and over and over until it becomes something that you are a master of. If for you, you're a people pleaser, it means saying no, until you become a master of saying no. Because what you're doing is you're taking back your power. Now, for most of us, when you think about your future, one of the things that a lot of us have, and we don't know that we do have, is how many of us know we have blind spots? Okay? We all have blind spots. And if you don't know that you have a blind spot, here's a quick clue for you. You have repeated patterns of the same issue. you repeat patterns of an issue. So I want you to think about an area of your life you're looking to improve. And I want you to think about, how do I function in this area? Do I find myself hitting the wall over and over and over and over? If you have repeated patterns in a certain area of your life, that is a huge clue into a blind spot. It's a huge clue into an area of your life that you need to improve. It's a huge clue if you find yourself always saying yes, but in your heart, you mean no. And you keep getting upset because why are they crossing my boundaries? But why do you keep saying yes? So that's a clue. And so you're going to need that side mirror. And the side mirror is accountability, really. Accountability from your friends, from coaches, from mentors. You're going to need that from accountability. Or people who are going to help you see that blind spot. I remember this analogy of a guy who was driving on the road. He's driving on the highway. We're going to say Mombasa Expressway. And as he's driving, that one has no jam. So we can't use expressway because there's no jam there. So let's use Waiyaki Highway. So there's Waiyaki Highway and there's jam back to back. Now he's going to see his dad at the hospital. But when he left, he knows this is the only road that he goes, Waiyaki Way. He goes through Waiyaki Way. But then as he's going, he doesn't realize there was jam today because he's forgot to check his GPS, his map. Now, his brother, these people are rich. His brother usually drives an aeroplane or a helicopter. So the brother can see from the top, oh wow, yeah, this road there's jam, but he cannot communicate. And cannot tell his brother, oh, there's jam over here. There's a jam over here. The point is the following. If you do not have someone above you seeing the roadblocks you're going to be going through, that's when you keep repeating and hitting those patterns in your life. And so I want you to write down, who do you want to become? Write that down. Who do you want to become? Who do you want to become? And secondly, what is holding you from being all that you can be? What is holding you from becoming all you can be? Now, I told you there are 3 levels of listening. There's 3 ways we listen, and there's 3 ways that we take on information. Level 1 is what we call listening internally. When someone is talking to you, and you're in level 1 of listening, this is when you're listening with what's going on inside your heart. What's going on, how you're feeling. This is the part of us where now we begin to judge, we become afraid. Your inner voice becomes critical. How many of you know we all have that inner critical voice? That inner child that's constantly judging, that's constantly telling us we're not enough. Whenever you find yourself going inside and you find yourself feeling, level 1 listening, you use a lot of your emotions. It's very emotionally driven. And so I want you to notice, how does your body respond when you're listening, when you're talking to somebody? Do you begin to filter that information? Remember we talked in the beginning, there's a lot of filtering of information. Are you filtering that information, or are you using level 2, which is focused listening? Now, this is what I use when I'm coaching you guys. It's listening. What's beneath that question that you're asking? What's beneath that question? Because when you come and say, Roseanne, I've gained weight. No, you haven't. There's something else going on. And I say, there's something else that's going on. I always say, when you come, like, no, girl, I know there's something happening. There's something going on. That now is what's known as focused listening. And with focused listening is you're really listening to what are you not saying? What's the other person not saying? If I had more time, I really would have us do an exercise together to do this. But Sharon has given me just a couple of minutes. So that's what happens. And I want you to practice this even with your friends. Just when someone is talking to you, why not remove yourself, not feel, but really listen to what it is that they're saying. And then there's level 3 listening. Now, this is when we listen to everything that's going on around us. This is when we now become almost intuitive. It's almost like someone has, you know how you go and be like, oh my, I might say something to Sharon. And Sharon will be like, oh my God, someone else told me the same thing. So it means there's a message that's being passed along to you. So when you're listening, level 1, 2, and 3, you're beginning to ask yourself, what am I looking at? What am I searching for? Because what happens with our brain is our brain will always look for the things that we are commanding. Now I want you, when you look at your fingers, our fingers have over 10,000 receptors that are connected to our heart. 10,000. And now with these receptors, what happens? Remember I always say, I want you guys to journal. There's a reason why you're journaling. Not only is it connected to your heart, but really, it also goes to your brain. Your brain is connected to your heart. So when you're writing all these things down, you're writing the thoughts that are in your head, you're bringing them out to paper, because what you're doing is you're also beginning to release all these thoughts that tend to go round and round and round in our brain, which tends to have us hit and hit over the wall. And if we are not careful, what happens with those thoughts, we're either beginning to judge ourselves, we're beginning to be afraid because we're listening to those voices, number one. Then, if you do not have the awareness to have somebody help you think through these thoughts, you're going to continue constantly hit a wall. And usually, if you are perceptive enough, you will, and you're listening enough, even the outside world is always talking to us. But you must be listening, and you must be willing to open your ears to hear. So I want us to do a quick exercise. And the exercise, we'll go back to the red and brown. Red and brown, we'll go back to it. But I want you to I want you to think about, remember I said, who do you want to become, right? It means it's something that you are not yet. When you think about that oak tree, it starts as an acorn, then it becomes an oak tree. It becomes something. But for us, there's something that's not manifested yet. So did you write who you want to become? All right. Now I want you to start answering who you want to become, and I want you to ask yourself, okay, start your sentence with, I should. I should. I should. I want you to think about what areas of my life do I struggle in, and what are the words I keep telling myself over and over and over that criticize myself? What are those things? Write them down. What does that inner critic say? But before we do that, I want you to give that inner critic a name. Ask me why. Why? I mean, you're just going to do it without asking me why? Because Roseanne said, put a name. Does anybody know why we want to give that inner critic a name? Go ahead.
Because then it will be like you're actually bringing it to surface.
You're bringing it to surface. Very good. Another reason? Maggie? You're taking your power back. And what does the inner critic, if you say you're taking your power back, so what does that mean with that inner critic? Acknowledging that I love that. She's acknowledging that inner critic is there. So I want you to give your inner critic a name. And I want you to think, when you're thinking about that inner critic, actually there's a big reason why I want you to give that inner critic a name. Another reason on top of what they've said. Because it's not you. Because it's not you. You like that? Yeah. You give them a name so that you begin to recognize when they are speaking to you and they're saying all these things that you know are not you. When the judgy girl comes up, you know that that's not you. And so, quick exercise we're going to do. I want you to think, when you think about your inner critic, do we have any names? Has anybody named? Give them. Yes, Asia? Judgmental. Ooh. Her inner critic is judgmental. And it's getting the tools to mitigate that inner critic. It's having the tools to help you understand, if I am struggling here, then what do I need to be looking at? It's always having the two sides to a coin, the head and the up and the right and right and exactly. So there's always two sides to every coin. So when you're beating yourself down, because that's what we do, especially as women, we are constantly beating ourselves down. But in that moment, I want you to learn to switch and to ask yourself, right now, what's the value? What's the thing I hold to so dearly? What is it that I need to do? So you gotta learn to mitigate that inner critic so that you're not giving away that power to total strangers. Because remember, nobody's living your life but you. So it's learning to understand what's bothering me and how do I begin to manage it. And so the key is to understand the context and the clarity. And as we finish, it's just I want to explain this to you about how our brain experiences our reality. because it experiences our reality in two ways. There's the associated reality. This is when we feel. This is when our emotions kick in. This is when our heart's beating. This is when we're sweating. Everything is on the inside. When I'm watching movies, I love FBI movies. I love CIA movies. Those kind of movies I love. I have to close my ears because the music really gets me. Because you guys know I love music. Context, yeah? When music is on, I'm dancing. But also, when I'm watching a movie and it's scary, that music moves me too. So for me, when I'm watching scary movies, I am associating. I am inside with them. I am feeling. It's an association. So our brain is going to experience our reality in two ways. Associated reality, which is real-time, emotions are high, and disassociated reality. Disassociation is what I usually try to teach a lot of us to do. And that just means you're observing yourself as you're making. It's almost like there's an Essie up here observing Essie behaving. So how does Essie behave when you're judging yourself? It's getting to notice that inner critic is speaking right now. And so what I need to do is not get into my feelings, not associate with that feeling, but you gotta catch it on real quick. You gotta catch it on. And once you catch it, it's you're stepping outside of yourself and watching yourself. Yesterday, I was practicing this, you guys. I was like, and I was just telling God, I swear to God, this is like a real test. Your friends will not be there. Like all the things, nothing's gonna go the way you want it to. It's going the way I want it to go because I stood out there and I'd observed myself and I'd noticed the things I was saying in my brain were just not making any sense. Just not making any sense. Like, what am I afraid of? I literally would look, I'm like, I love Asia, I love Sharon, I love all these people, they're not gonna hurt me, Because it's fear. So it's getting outside of myself and noticing how do I show up in that moment of fear. And so this is now where I want you to disassociate yourself, because once you disassociate yourself, your emotions are reduced. And when you remember everything in life we do it because of our emotions. Emotions are what drive us. And so I want us to have this warrior mentality, to always know that anything that's on the inside of me, your potential, anything that you want to do, you absolutely can do. Now, finally, for a lot of us, we go through hard things in life. Now, this is going to be hard, and I actually want you to notice what level of listening are you going to listen as I share this. Because for a lot of us, we go through difficult seasons in our lives. And yes, they're hard. I want to be clear. I'm not going to say they're not easy, they're hard. But I want you to begin to ask yourself some questions. What if this is a lesson I'm learning? And usually, by the way, when you're going through hard things, indeed, when hindsight is 20/20, you're learning a lesson. You're being taught a lesson. So when you're going through those difficulties, instead of hunkering down and sitting down and saying, oh God, woe unto me, in our feelings when we are associated, disassociate and begin to look at for what could the lesson be here? Or what am I being taught here? Because this is what I do know for sure. Everything that is happening to your life is happening for a reason. And it's preparing you for your next stage of life, whatever that stage is. Because if you do not manage yourself in this stage, in this level, that bigger vision that you have for yourself, I can absolutely assure you, you're not going to be able to reach it in its highest like the oak tree because you haven't been able to manage yourself. And with every stage of your life, like an acorn, there's a seed, it becomes a seedling, it becomes a stem, it becomes a tree. With every single stage, you're doing different things. You're watering it differently. There's a season when you're going to put fertilizer. There's a season when you're going to need to remove the weeds. That's exactly what happens to us. Recognize you're in a season. Recognize that you are in every single stage of your life. And if you do not learn the lesson that life is teaching you, what happens when we're not learning that lesson? You'll keep repeating the patterns. You keep hitting back to back to back. So it's really knowing and understanding, my goodness, if I keep resisting what's happening to me, it's just going to persist. It honestly just tends to become bigger and bigger and bigger. And I love this quote. You know, my sister and I were texting each other, and I have been, Sharon, I think I've told you this, I'm anti-school. I'm surely anti, I've always been, and I'll tell you why. I have a very good reason. It doesn't prepare you for life. It really doesn't prepare you for life. If anything, it keeps you in a box. And so when we're trying to get away from the box, what happens? All that inner critic comes back. I've never been a fan of school for many years. Because it's like you have go to life and you're like, okay, what's happening? Like nobody taught me all these things. And so in school, you learn the lesson first, then they give you the test. All they're doing is you're cramming to pass a paper because somebody somewhere decided this is how human beings should live. I think it was the worst thing that happened because a lot of human beings, their potential has gone under. And I want us to be different and to change. And to know that in life, you are first given the test to see if you're going to learn the lesson. You are given the test in life. How many of you can say, yes, life has given me the test? Yes, and in some places you've learned the lesson, other places you're like, wait, hold on, let's first sit over here, okay? We're not ready to learn the lesson. How many of you love snakes? Snakes. Oh, she went. It was like, okay? What if you have a lot of worms that just fell over here? Worms. Ah, yeah, I heard that. So did you see a worm? But you feel it in your body. You feel it. Remember, all our actions are based on our feelings. So everything you do is based on your feeling, which therefore tells me, and it tells you or should tell you, that what you say to yourselves, your words, will affect how you feel.